soft as a misty rain that gently
Jada
touches my soul.
What it do, Jada Boo?
It cools the fire that burns in me, and I simply lose control. So just rain down on me, let your love just fall like rain, just rain on me.
Like, I'm scared. Like, when I'm gonna have kids? I don't have a fucking car yet. Like,
Bridgeport, Connecticut, December 12th, 2021. She was killed, or maybe they called it an accident. 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields, found unresponsive in her own apartment. Blood sliding from her nose onto the sheets, the life in her body, gone before sunrise. The man she had just met days earlier told police a story. But that story? It doesn't sit right. Not with her family, not with this community. And after you hear it, it won't sit right with you either. Before we go any further, you need to hit subscribe right now, because if you don't, if you click away, her face will fade from your mind, and that's exactly what some people are counting on. And if you're not subscribing, then go to the comments and explain why you're fine with her name disappearing from the conversation. Lauren wasn't just a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a young Black woman with dreams bigger than the city skyline she called home. Her laughter could fill a room, her kindness could quiet an argument, and 3 days before she was found lifeless, she was making plans for the future. But in the early hours of that cold December morning, everything changed. The 911 call went out, the apartment became a crime scene, and a family's life was split into before and after. What happened between the last time she answered her phone and the moment paramedics pronounced her dead? What truths were overlooked, ignored, or buried? Stay with me. Because the fight for answers hasn't ended, and the questions we're about to ask might keep you up tonight. You are watching Black Girl Lost, where we don't just tell true crime stories, we tell her story. The ones the system tried to erase, the ones the headlines never fully explain. Subscribe to bring more attention to stories that matter. Like, if you believe Black women deserve protection. Comment your thoughts as you watch. Your voice helps bring justice. She was more than a name in a report. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields carried herself with a quiet confidence that made people lean in when she spoke. She was the type who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave having made friends. Her smile was soft, but it lingered. Her laughter, loud enough to carry across a crowded room, had a way of pulling you in, making you feel like you belonged there with her. In videos saved on her phone, you see pieces of her life, little snapshots of who she was. She's in her bedroom, standing in front of the mirror, hairbrush in hand, singing along to a song she loved. In another, she's on the couch with her brother, teasing him until he can't keep a straight face. A clip from a beach trip shows her walking barefoot in the sand, letting the waves touch her toes. And then there's her smile again. Always that smile. Lauren had a plan for her future. She was studying to become a physical therapist. She wanted to help people recover from injuries, regain their strength, take back their lives. She talked about opening her own clinic one day, but she also made time for joy.
Tell them poor mad bitches to play them.
She loved fashion, makeup, and travel, things that let her show the world who she was. Her Instagram stories were full of new looks, new places, moments of silliness, moments of beauty. She didn't just post pictures, she shared pieces of herself. Her family remembers her as the heartbeat of every gathering. At the dinner table, she was telling jokes, making her grandmother laugh so hard she had to put down her fork. Her mother remembers her as the adventurous one, always willing to try something new. Her father says she had a way of speaking that made you listen, like she already knew where she was going in life, and nothing could stop her from getting there. This was a life moving forward, a life full of promise, and that's why what happened next matters so much. Because when someone like Lauren is taken from this world, it's not just her future that's stolen. It's every conversation she would have had, every laugh she would have shared, every life she would have touched. Do not let her name be lost in the noise. Subscribe now. Make sure her story stays alive. And if you won't, then go into the comments and explain why you're okay letting another young Black woman vanish from public memory, because if you had known her, even for a moment, you would understand why forgetting is not an option. The night Lauren met him was one of those evenings that start out as ordinary until you look back and realize how every detail matters. She connected with him on Bumble. A stranger from the digital ether, now invited into her real world. They agreed to meet, just the two of them. Drinks were poured, laughter mingled with the sound of a movie playing in the background. They played games, a casual attempt at comfort between two people still in the early steps of knowing each other. But somewhere in that night, something shifted. His version of events would later become the spine of the official narrative. He says she started feeling sick. He says he helped her to bed, watched her rest, and when morning came, he says he found her unresponsive, blood from her nose, motionless, cold. And yet, what came next would set a fire in her family's chest that still burns. He was never named a person of interest, not even questioned as though his presence there might demand deeper scrutiny. Police reportedly referred to him as, quote, a very nice guy. Nice according to whom? Nice compared to what? And why did those words seem to close the book before the first chapter was even examined? You and I both know, life does not allow for loose ends when it is your loved one lying still. This is not the moment to sit back. If you see the cracks in this account, if you feel the weight of these omissions, subscribe now, and if you do not, head to the comments and tell the rest of us why you are okay with letting this slip away without answers, because silence here is a choice. The hours after Lauren's death should have been erased to preserve every scrap of evidence, every thread that might explain what happened to her. Instead, what emerged was a trail of carelessness that feels almost impossible to comprehend. The bloody sheets from her bed, a used condom containing semen, an unidentified pill resting on the nightstand. These were not processed immediately, not preserved with urgency. Some sat for weeks before they were touched, as if her case was nothing more than an afterthought. And while these items languished, so did the truth. No knock on the family's door, no somber visit from an officer bearing the worst kind of news. Lauren's loved ones found out because her landlord left a note on her door, scribbled words that read, "If you're looking for Lauren, call this number." That was their introduction to her death, a piece of paper taped up like a delivery notice. When her family reached out to the detective assigned to her case, hoping for compassion or clarity, they were met with the opposite. Calls were dismissed. One was hung up on in mid-conversation, grief slicing through the line unanswered. Her mother would later say, "They treated my daughter like she was nobody." Imagine burying your only child while feeling as though the very system meant to protect her life treated her death as an inconvenience. This was not just personal neglect, this was institutional indifference. It is the kind of silence that is unforgivable. It is the kind of silence that sparks fury deep in the gut.
Now to an I-Team exclusive. There are new questions about the police investigation into the dating app death of a young woman, Lauren Smith Fields, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace delves into that mystery.
They wanted us to forget about our daughter, their sister, our loved one. They thought they was gonna just throw her away like she was
garbage. Amid this family's anguish are emotions of outrage and disgust at how the Bridgeport Police Department has investigated the mysterious death of 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields.
It was careless. It was no concern. There was no care for the family about how we felt, our grief, our pain, none of that.
The I-Team obtained this police report of the response to a 911 call from Lauren's apartment on the morning of December 12th from a white male identified as Matthew LaFountain. The investigator notes he was trembling and visibly shaken. LaFountain said they met on the dating site Bumble, began drinking shots of tequila, and Lauren became ill. That later they played some games, ate some food, and started to watch a movie. He says he carried her to her bedroom and laid her in her bed. He then laid down next to her and fell asleep. He woke up again at approximately 0630 hours, and she was laying on her right side. Blood was coming out of her right nostril onto the bed, and she was not breathing.
The whole day goes by. No police reach out to the family at all.
Her close-knit family says they went to the apartment the next day after frantically calling and texting Lauren and were referred to a Detective Cronin.
They didn't even contact us. They didn't let us know anything. It's crazy. And I'm asking what's going on. He said she met some guy on Bumble. And I'm asking him about the guy. He was like, oh, he sounds like a really nice guy. He sounds like a really good guy. And he was like, I'll call you back, and just hung up in my face.
They say the detective promised to come by the apartment.
Never showed up.
The family says the relationship with police devolved from there. No contact from December 13th until December 29th. They returned to the apartment to clear out Lauren's belongings and claim a new detective came by to say he'd taken over the case from Detective Cronin.
The detective said he effed up, he messed up, he effed Cronin, he messed up, he didn't know what he was doing, he messed up the case.
The family says they provided evidence they'd collected to crime scene investigators who arrived for the first time that day, included a bloody sheet and a pill.
And 2 cups of drinks or whatever next to a bottle. They didn't take none of that. We seen a condom, we seen lube, other stuff in there, and they didn't take none of this.
Sources close to the investigation tell the I-Team the Matthew LaFountain pictured in this social media photo, now removed, was the man at Lauren's apartment. A neighbor at his listed address in Milford confirmed LaFountain's identity, but we were unable to reach the 37-year-old who has not been accused of any wrongdoing. LaFountain's same image appeared under the name Matthew Thomas, now also taken down.
Anyone that genuinely cared and they were there, the last person there, and they know that nothing bad happened, you would at least even reach out to the family yourself. Listen, I know I'm sorry for your loss of your daughter or your sister.
The family's last contact with police was on January 4th at headquarters with their attorney.
What I believe is that the police failed to collect and preserve that environment from the first day.
The attorney has now filed a notice of claim to sue Bridgeport for negligence, claiming key evidence was not initially submitted to the state lab.
I feel like because he's a white guy and she's a black girl, it's just almost like they just thrown it under the rug.
That night she was silenced, so now we are her voice.
Right.
But we're here and we're fighting for her.
The Bridgeport Police Department did not respond to repeated messages we left about the case, but in previous statements, they've said the investigation is open and active, and that detectives are waiting for a final report from the medical examiner on the cause and manner of death. Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
Also, we just received a statement from the dating site Bumble that Sarah mentioned. A spokesperson says, we are deeply saddened by news of Lauren Smith Fields' death and have reached out directly to the family to offer support. We have been in contact with law enforcement, but they have not yet requested any information.
In the weeks that followed, Lauren's face appeared on protest signs, her name chanted on city streets. On what would have been her 24th birthday, her family marched, not in celebration, but in demand, demanding that her life be valued, that her death be investigated with the dignity she deserved. Angry yet? Good. That's where justice begins. And if you're still watching, subscription is your promise not to let her memory fade. If you will not do that, then step into the comments and tell us why. Because silence is no longer an option. On one half of the screen, the world seems to stop. Breaking news banners, urgent updates, a flurry of headlines repeating the same name over and over. On the other half, there is Lauren, No breaking alerts, no wall-to-wall coverage, no reporters stationed outside her home, just a handful of posts, a few local mentions, and a family screaming into a void that does not answer back.
The family of Lauren Smith Fields announcing plans today for a march to keep their loved one's legacy alive and to keep pressure on police to investigate her death.
Work with us in some way. We haven't heard from them at all. It's almost like they're trying to sweep everything under the rug.
The family met with our Frank Recchia today, who broke the story back in December. Quickly made national headlines and brought attention to the death of a second black woman from Bridgeport, Brenda Lee Rawls, who died on the very same day. Thousands of people marched through Bridgeport demanding answers. The case led to the passage of what is now being called Lauren's Law, requiring Connecticut law enforcement agencies to make death notifications in a timely manner.
Here in our black community, we pay taxes, and they should be working for us and our family and show that they care for us and they're not going to just throw us out like we're rubbish. Every black person, every person of color matters.
The medical examiner found Smith Fields died from a combination of fentanyl and alcohol, but her family says many questions remain unanswered. Saturday's march will start in front of the Bridgeport Police Department at 1 o'clock.
This is not about pitting one tragedy against another. It is about exposing the contrast. When a white woman disappears, it becomes a national conversation. It trends on Twitter, floods TikTok, and draws law enforcement resources from across the state. But when a black woman is found dead under questionable circumstances, the silence is deafening. In Lauren's case, that silence was not just from strangers on social media, it came from the very institutions sworn to protect her. While headlines blared updates on Gabby Petito every hour, Lauren's death barely registered outside of Bridgeport. The difference is not in the value of the lives lost, but in how America responds to them. Look closely at the footage. Her mother and brother, standing in front of microphones, pleading for answers. Family friends sharing Lauren's photo online, tagging every news outlet they can think of. And in the corner of your screen, police officials reading a bland, detached statement. No urgency, no emotion, just procedure. Then we hear the voice of attorney Darnell Crosland, steady but unyielding. We are not asking for favors. We are asking for fairness. Treat this like any other case. His words hang heavy because we know the truth. This was not treated like any other case. It was treated like less. And that is why this story matters far beyond one city, one family, or one investigation. It is a mirror held up to a nation that swears equality under the law, yet enforces it selectively. If you believe Black Lives Matter, this is the moment to act. Subscribe, because caring is meaningless without action. And if you choose not to, then say it out loud in the comments. Tell us why you would stay silent. Even now, long after the cameras have left and headlines have faded, Lauren's family still walks. Through court hallways, through city streets, through the same bitter Connecticut winters she once endured on her way to work. Their steps are slow, but not hesitant. Every march, every rally, every filing is an act of resistance against a silence that tried to swallow her whole. You can see it in their eyes. Grief that has learned to stand. Grief that refuses to be still. This is not closure. This is not peace. This is a fight that keeps unfolding in real time. On courthouse steps, in online petitions, through GoFundMe updates where strangers leave messages that read more like love letters than donations. It is the same fight her lawyer, Darnell Crosland, called for from day one. We just want process. Treat this like any other case. And yet here they are, still demanding the bare minimum of fairness, still pushing against an unspoken hierarchy that decides whose lives are headline material and whose names fade quietly into case files. Lauren's story isn't a headline. It's a call, a demand, a legacy of defiance against the erasure that has claimed far too many Black women before her. In every photo her mother holds up, Lauren's smile cuts through the weight of it all. That smile fades now into black, but not into silence. Over the darkness, her own voice emerges from a saved voice note, almost a whisper, almost a plea. Don't let me be forgotten. I am asking you, be her voice. Subscribe for justice. And if you cannot, then tell us why you would choose silence.